Hey everyone, welcome. Get comfortable, and let's get into tonight's Reddit stories. A devil USB drive, a fried gaming PC, and a friend who just couldn't resist snooping. When curiosity turns into hundreds of dollars in damage, who's actually responsible? Am I the asshole for my USB killer frying my friend's PC after she snooped in my bag? I'm 20 female, and my friend is 21 female. I always carry a USB killer in my backpack. It looks like any other thumb drive, except I stuck a tiny devil face sticker on it so I know it's the dangerous one. I keep it on me because I still live at home and my parents are super nosy. If I ever left it on my desk, they'd definitely pick it up and plug it into their laptop to see what it is. Yesterday, I had to leave campus in a rush and asked my friend to watch my bag for a bit. I ended up not having time to come back, so I just texted her to take it home and I'd grab it today. She said cool. She gets home, admits she got curious and started looking through my stuff, finds the devil sticker USB, thinks it's my normal drive, and plugs it into her gaming PC to see what files I have. Computer instantly dies. Motherboard and PSU completely gone. Now she's mad at me, saying I'm reckless for carrying something like that and that I need to buy her a whole new setup, even though she knows she shouldn't have been digging around in my bag in the first place. I feel bad her PC is dead, but come on. Don't snoop and don't plug random drives into your computer. Am I the asshole? Top commenters are pretty clear about where they think the blame is. One person points out that OP's own last line really sums it up. The friend was wrong for snooping in the bag, wrong for using something that wasn't hers without asking, and she's now learned a very expensive lesson. 2 lessons, actually. Don't be a bad friend, and never plug an unknown USB into your system without checking with the owner first. Another commenter boils it down to basic, almost universal tech and social rules. Never install or connect media with unknown content to your system, and don't go through other people's stuff. If you break those simple rules, bad outcomes are kind of predictable. And a highly upvoted comment calls this a classic fuck around and find out situation. She messed around, she snooped, she basically stole the use of the USB, and she paid the price. In their view, it's too bad, so sad for the friend, but the consequences are on her, not on OP. What do you think? Is carrying a USB killer around inherently reckless, or is this completely on the friend for snooping and plugging in a clearly marked drive without asking? Let me know in the comments whose side you're on and what you'd do if this happened to you. Imagine you spend time and money on a once-in-a-lifetime trip, carefully picking out something special, making it this for us treat. And then later, you find out it got casually handed out at a late-night hangout after you'd said no over and over. What are you even supposed to do when your partner just shrugs off a boundary you thought was crystal clear? Am I the asshole for being furious that my husband gave away my sake and wine after I told him repeatedly not to? I, 30 female, came back from Japan about 2 months ago and brought home an expensive bottle of sake that I specifically picked out after doing a sake tasting class. I'm not a big drinker, so I chose something I genuinely liked and that I thought my husband would enjoy too. It was meant as a for-us thing. I also had an unopened bottle of German wine that a friend gifted me 3 months ago. My husband and I had multiple conversations where he asked if he could give the sake to his father, his cousin, or his friends, and I said a strict no every single time. Not vaguely, not jokingly, very clearly. He knew it was sentimental and partially a souvenir. There was even one time I opened it, and he refused to drink it because he had a headache, so I had about 20 meal killers and left the rest untouched. Fast forward to 3 days ago. I'm away from home, and he has friends over after a pub night. I didn't even consider that he would touch the sake or the wine, because we've had the don't share this conversation a million times. The next day, I ask him where the sake is. He casually tells me he shared the sake and the unopened wine with his friends, and they finished everything. I was stunned, angry, disappointed. all of it. He then says he forgot, that I told him not to give it to anyone, and adds that he doesn't remember unimportant stuff. Bear in mind, I had even given him a bottle of whiskey specifically meant for his friends after I returned from my travel. When I confronted him about the sack and wine, he flipped it and said, "Don't let it spoil our relationship," and suggested I see a counselor. Am I the asshole for being this upset over something he claims is not a big deal, even though I told him explicitly and repeatedly not to touch it? I'm unable to process the fact that my husband casually crossed a major boundary and is nonchalant about it. Edit. Husband and his friends are not alcoholics. He rarely indulges. Second edit. He said, "Don't let it spoil our relationship," not throwing away the relationship. Sincere apologies. The top commenters are overwhelmingly saying the original poster is not the asshole here. One of the highest rated responses points out that this wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding. The husband asked multiple times if he could give the sake away, was told no clearly every time, and then did it anyway the moment it suited him. When he followed that up by saying he doesn't remember unimportant stuff, commenters took that as him basically saying that her clearly stated wishes are unimportant to him. Another popular comment takes that line even further. If he doesn't remember unimportant stuff, and this was something she had emphasized repeatedly, then to him, she and what she cares about are the unimportant stuff. That commenter also firmly says, she's not the asshole. A third top comment stresses that this isn't really about alcohol at all. It's about a pattern of disrespect and priorities. The commenter notes that she didn't just casually mention once, "Hey, don't touch that." She made it very clear several times that this bottle was special and not to be shared. From their perspective, his "I don't remember unimportant stuff" sounds less like forgetfulness and more like, "I remembered, I just didn't care enough to honor it." They see this as him deciding that anything she values can be pushed aside if it conflicts with what he wants in the moment. What do you think? Is this just a one-time mistake over some drinks that shouldn't threaten the relationship? Or is it a serious boundary issue that shows something deeper about how he sees her and her wishes? Let me know your verdict in the comments. Who's the asshole here, if anyone? 5 longtime roommates, 1 brand new guy, and a house rule that gets decided by majority vote. When the new roommate doesn't like how the vote turns out, he comes up with a plan to teach them a lesson by trying to embarrass them in front of guests. But when his little scheme backfires, the whole house is split on what to do next. Am I the asshole for telling my roommate I won't be changing my habits because of him bringing his friends over? I, 23 male, rent a house with 4 of my buddies from college. We've been doing this for 2 years now. It works really well because not only are we good friends, but we also have a system for house rules. We go by majority vote. Disagreements about cleaning? Majority vote. When to set quiet hours on weeknights? Majority rules. It's kept everything running smoothly. Anyway, one of my friends moved out last month to get a place with his girlfriend. He found a friend of a friend to take over his room. The new guy seemed nice enough at first, but then he came to us with what he called a declaration. Apparently, he was uncomfortable that we're not always completely dressed in the house. None of us are nudists or anything, but some of us will hang around without a shirt or just be in pajamas, boxers, or underwear when we're lounging around. I'll admit, I'm one of the 2 who do this the most, because I usually just lounge around in boxers or other underwear. We all met through a sport, so we're pretty comfortable seeing each other like that. I guess the new guy was caught off guard because he asked if we could make a clothing-on rule in the house. As usual, we took a vote, and the rest of us thought it was unnecessary. So there was no new rule, but I did start wearing clothes more often, even though there were still times I didn't bother. Like when I'd just woken up after showering, or if I was just stepping out to grab something from my room. I was trying to be considerate. Apparently, that wasn't enough for him. I noticed that even though we've always given each other a heads up before having people over, he stopped doing that. A few times I found myself just in my underwear when he suddenly rolled in with a group of friends. I got a couple of weird looks, but I'd just excuse myself and go get dressed. I told him once that if he gave me a heads up, I'd be dressed before they got there, but he just rolled his eyes. One of my other housemates has run into the same issue. Anyway, the other day he came up to me and that other housemate and asked if his plan to shame us for never wearing clothes had worked. We looked at him like, "What?" And he explained that he was purposely trying to embarrass us by having people see us. We told him we're not embarrassed. We work out for a reason, and that we weren't going to change our habits. He stormed off and started talking smack about us to the other roommates. Am I the asshole? The top comments are very clear about where they think the problem lies. One person points out that you all followed the system you've had for years. You took a vote, the majority decided against a clothing rule, and that should have been the end of it. Instead of accepting that, the new guy decided to try to force a change by exposing you to random people without warning. Their take is that this isn't just annoying. It's grounds for a serious, "This isn't working out. We're looking for a new roommate, start packing" conversation. Another commenter says the issue isn't even really about how much clothing you're wearing. It's about the fact that the new roommate openly admitted he was bringing guests over unannounced specifically to shame you and your other housemate. In their view, that's manipulative and disrespectful, and they think he's the one in the wrong and should be the one to leave. A third top comment emphasizes that you actually went above and beyond. You respected the vote and then still tried to be more covered to meet him halfway. In return, he ambushed you with guests, tried to humiliate you, and then bragged about his little plan. They call that petty and childish, and say that someone who moves into an established house doesn't get to bully the existing roommates into changing their habits to suit his preferences. From their perspective, you didn't do anything wrong by refusing to change after that. What do you think? If you were living in this house, would you stick to the majority rule system and tell the new guy to adapt? Or would you change the clothing habits to make him more comfortable? And how would you handle a roommate who admits to trying to shame you on purpose? Let me know your thoughts and your verdict in the comments below. Imagine you buy your grandkids really expensive Christmas presents, but their mom has this habit of secretly selling their nice stuff online. Do you protect the gifts, even if it means locking the parents out and threatening to call the police? Or is that crossing a serious line? Am I the asshole for telling my daughter-in-law that I got the iPads for the kids, but I've locked her out of the settings? Update. I am still going to give them the iPads, and for the first few weeks they will stay at my place. After that, I'll let them take them home, but I will be monitoring them. They deserve to have nice things at home, even if mom is a dick. I am also going to inform her in a text that this is a loan, and I'm going to make it very clear that if she does sell them, I will file a report with the police and pursue it. I can literally see where the iPads are online. I don't like it, but she needs to stop doing this shit, and if I have to pursue it, then I will. Edit. She's locked out of everything. The cloud is in my name, with my own passcodes. That's locked. I had the people help me do this so no one else can get it. Unless she gets hacking skills to rival Apple engineers, she will not be able to wipe them. Also, I don't find it fair that the kids can't have nice stuff because of her. I only see them usually once every 2 weeks. They should be able to use their nice stuff at home or take it to a friend's house. My son works on cargo ships. He is hard to contact and is gone for weeks to months at a time. He will not be around for the holidays. He's married to Daisy. Life has been rough for the couple the past 2 years. Daisy became unemployed and hasn't found work that is flexible enough with the kids. My son is gone often, so he can't help with the kids. A common issue that has been happening is that Daisy will sell the kids things online for extra cash. I really don't approve, especially since she still is getting her nails done every 2 weeks still. The kids get into trouble, and so she sells their things. My granddaughter only had her new Switch video game for 2 weeks before it was sold. Daisy claimed she was playing too aggressively with the game, but when I asked, she could not give me examples. So the $70 Switch game got sold on eBay. This also only ever happens with expensive gifts. I have talked to her about it, but she denies it. Daisy asked me to buy the 2 kids' iPads for Christmas. They're expensive, and I'm worried she's going to sell them. So I have set them up already and made it so she needs a password to get into the settings app. That way, she cannot wipe them and sell them. I called her up today and informed her I got the kids' iPads and explained that I put a password on the settings app. In short, she was pissed. But I made it clear this is the only way I am gifting them the iPads. I have been getting texts constantly about me overstepping. Was this a dick move? Should I get rid of the passcode? Reddit was overwhelmingly on the grandmother's side, and a lot of people had very specific advice on how to handle this. The top comments said she should make it crystal clear that these iPads are legally hers, not the kids' mom's. Frame them as a loan to the grandchildren, not a full transfer of ownership. That way, if anything happens to the iPads, if they mysteriously get sold or disappear, she has every right to call the police and report them as stolen property. Another highly upvoted commenter shared that their own mom was just like Daisy, always finding a way to sell things off. Their warning was that if someone is determined enough, they'll look for any angle to make money off those devices. So their suggestion was, keep the iPads at Grandma's house and let the kids use them there only. If they do go home with the kids, then it needs to be absolutely clear that these are Grandma's devices, just being borrowed, and that she expects them back. That same commenter pointed out that Daisy is probably so angry because the password and Apple ID setup make it much harder for her to sell the iPads, and it exposes that Grandma sees what she's been doing. Their advice was, do not back down, because giving in would just enable behavior that ultimately hurts the kids. And then there were the more blunt responses. One popular comment simply said that the kids should get the iPads, but they should stay at Grandma's house, and called the daughter-in-law a loser for repeatedly selling her children's expensive gifts. Overall, the consensus was that protecting the gifts and setting hard boundaries was not overstepping. It was necessary. What do you think? Is Grandma being reasonable by locking down the iPads and treating them as a loan, or is she crossing a line by threatening police involvement and locking the mom out of the settings? If you were in her shoes, or in Daisy's, how would you handle this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Am I the Asshole tales. A routine medical procedure, a packed end-of-year school schedule, and a long holiday road trip all collide. When her husband finally books his colonoscopy at the last minute, he expects her to drop everything and drive him. She says no. Now he's not speaking to her. Am I the asshole for refusing to drive my husband home from his colonoscopy? I need some outside perspective on this. So, my husband went to the doctor back in September. He needs a colonoscopy. I reminded him in October. In November, he still hadn't scheduled it. I reminded him again and told him to try to schedule it before the end of the year because we've hit all our insurance, so it would basically be free. He told me yesterday that he scheduled it for the 19th. We're supposed to be in Nebraska for the holidays. He then said we needed to wait and that after his colonoscopy, we would drive there. That would mean I'd be driving 7+ hours by myself in the late afternoon and evening. I don't do well driving at night. I could do it if it were in the morning. I told him to reschedule it to after the first of the year. He said no, because he wants to help save money. So he then rescheduled it to next Wednesday, the 17th, and said he needed me to pick him up at 12:30. I told him I can't do that because of my job. I'm a teacher, and it's one of my busiest times of the year. He says I'm being rigid, not flexible and selfish. Also, that I don't care about him. I explained that I can't just leave my class for 30 minutes, especially at the lunch hour. Plus, he's going to be under general anesthesia. He needs somebody to be with him. And what if it takes longer than 30 minutes? He said I would figure it out if it was an emergency. This is not an emergency. I also told him I can't leave that day because I have parents coming in to help with a big project, a party I'm leading, and a parent conference after school. All of this was scheduled before his colonoscopy, which he did not check against my schedule. He says it's because I can't talk on the phone. I mentioned that he could schedule it when I get home. He says they are closed. I get home most days at 3:30. He told me to figure it out because he would do it for me. I told him I wouldn't have given him a week's notice to figure it out for something that's going to require me to take a day off of work. And it's not on me if he waited until the last minute to get it scheduled. I told him to reschedule for the first of the year and that I didn't care if we'd have to pay more, because at this point in time there's not a lot of options with the holidays. He said no and told me to figure it out. I said no. He says I am a shit because family comes first, and now he isn't talking to me. Reddit's top commenters were firmly on the wife's side, pointing out that the husband had months of reminders and still chose to schedule the procedure in a way that completely ignored her time, her job, and their holiday travel plans. From their perspective, he's the one who failed to plan and then tried to make his problem her emergency. One highly upvoted comment joked that both the husband and his asshole were the real problems here, not the wife. They stressed that he could still take advantage of the insurance before year's end by asking a friend to drive him home instead of insisting his wife leave work. And that still doesn't solve the issue of expecting her to do a 7-hour drive right after his procedure, which commenters felt just made him look worse. Another popular response questioned whether he's always this dismissive of her time and opinions. That commenter saw his behavior as rude and inconsiderate, noting that he took no responsibility for arranging his own medical care and simply dumped all the logistics on her, then tried to guilt-trip her when she couldn't accommodate him. What do you think? Is she right to hold her boundary about work and travel, or should she rearrange everything to get him to and from this appointment before the insurance resets? Let me know in the comments whose side you're on and how you'd handle this in your own relationship.